Hello and welcome, I'm Carl the Landscape Guy, and today I'll be building a simple, low-cost and functional firewood storage shed. I will explain everything step by step and show the entire process in detail. Like in many of my other videos, I will mostly do the work without using big machinery. Of course this will take longer, but this way the shed will be easy to replicate with clear and simple steps. We start here at the property line where the firewood shed will be built. The old overgrown mesh wire fence on the property line will be removed. The backside of the new firewood shed will be the border to the neighbor. Therefore, I have to make room here for the time being. At this point, I want to mention that it always makes sense to discuss such a building project with the neighbors concerned and also with the town hall for possible necessary building permits. Overgrown branches and twigs are easily removed with the lopper or branch cutter. Now I began to dismantle the fence, starting with the heavy steel beams, which were used as fence posts. With the cutting pliers, I opened the fence. The fence is not so easy to remove, it seems to have been buried here, so I dig it out with a spade. Then the wire fencing can be pulled out easily. I also remove roots that are in the way, and a tree which is too close to the property line has to be cut down. To prevent it from falling on the house, I attach a pulling rope and cut a small felling wedge. Now it's quite easy to pull it in the desired direction. Disassemble it, take it away and clean the area. No wood wasted here, and it'll be added to the firewood pile. Now these two root stumps have to be removed. Normally you would do this with an excavator, but I want to show you how to do it with physical strength. For this I use a manual winch, which I attach to a big tree nearby. The steel rope is put around the root to be removed so that it can be tightened. With the help of the rod, I pull the rope slowly through, and thus the roots can be pulled out relatively well. From time to time, I cut off the roots with a sharp spade. The two roots are out, and I cut them up with the chainsaw and try not to touch the sandy roots or ingrown wires. It is already dark, so I'll continue the next day. Now that the space for the new wood storage is finally free, I hammer in metal stakes and mark the property line with a string. To support the posts, I will use these 9 cm wide H-anchors. They will be set in concrete like this later, and I will see what height makes sense here. The H-anchors keep the wooden posts from touching the soil. I correct the string to the desired height and check the horizontal line with the 120 cm spirit level. Now I mark the locations for the foundation with marking spray. Each foundation hole is dug with a spade at about 20 cm wide and 70 cm deep. I use ready-mix concrete, which is well suited for foundations because of the coarse split parts. You can use the low-cost one from the hardware store. You'll need approximately 1.5 bags per foundation. You can mix it well in the mortar bucket, but it's important not to use too much water because we don't want the H-anchors to sink in while we set them. Now I fill the concrete into the hole to the height so that the H-anchor can be set to the desired height. With a short spirit lever, roughly align the H-anchor. Then fill it in a little higher, and it's also important to compact the concrete for more strength, for example with a piece of wood. Here I check the alignment to the string with a carpenter square. And finally check again with the spirit level. In this way I've already set some foundations here. The distance is set up so that later a standard 1.8 meter wooden weave fence fits between the posts. Next, a second row of foundations is set parallel to this. For this I use the string and stakes again and another string which runs perpendicular to the existing one. I set all strings to the same height with the help of a spirit level. Now the distance to the next row of foundations can be measured along the second string. For this I calculate the width of the post plus the width of the fence. Again, set the string and stakes and tighten the string. I measure in front and back so that the strings run parallel. Now the foundations can be made. Now all the foundations are finished and the strings can go. Inside the foundations, the ground is now straightened. Then approximately 20 centimeters of gravel is applied and compacted. I level the excess topsoil around it. And now it's time to build the wooden construction. I use 9 by 9 centimeter pressure treated fence posts. These 2.1 meter posts come into the back on the property line, and the ones here in the front are 2.4 meters long. This way the roof pitch will later go down towards the back. I will secure the post to the H anchors with these 5 centimeters wood screws. With the 9 centimeter thick posts and the 5 millimeter thick steel anchor, this fits very well. The post is placed in the anchor and the screw is used to create a gap at the bottom. The screw will be removed later and the wood can dry well from underneath whenever it gets wet. With the help of a clamp, the post can be aligned easier. With the spirit level, I align the post vertically in both directions. If you have the option to choose the posts yourself, make sure to take the straightest ones. I drill the holes with a cordless drill and then I insert the screws. The best way is with a rotary impact screwdriver. When all screws are in, the spacing screw at the bottom can be easily removed. Next is the last post in the row. Then I can check the height between the posts with the string secured to the top of the 2 posts. The back row is finished and I continue with the front row following the same procedure. Next, the posts are connected at the top with roof battens. I still have these laying around, otherwise I would have used thicker battens, but I think this will work. I put the battens upright, pre-drill the holes and secure them in the posts with long wood screws. Next, I screw in the metal brackets for the fence assembly. Again, I always measure the same distance from the top and the bottom before drilling the holes. They can also be screwed in with the cordless drill and then aligned with the pliers. The next step is the roofing. I will be reusing these trapezoidal metal sheets, but these are over 5 meters long and I have to cut them to length first. Therefore, I put the sheets on pallets and measure the correct length. For this I use a immersion saw with a metal cutting blade. The corresponding rail can be attached to the sheet metal from below with clamps to ensure a straight cut. This works very well, and the immersion depth of the saw is just enough for these 5 cm trapezoidal sheets. I also cut off the unsightly end of the sheet metal this way. After cutting all sheets to sides, clean them a little bit and then they can be put on. I start in the middle because it seems easier to me to get an equal roofing overhang on the right and left side. I measure the distances from the edges of the sheets to the roof batten and push them to the right position. Now these sheets can be fastened from above with these special stainless trapezoidal sheet metal screws. They have a built-in gasket, but simple flathead screws will probably also work well. With the help of the folding ruler, I know where the roof battens are and drill first. The screws are self-drilling, but this way it's easier and the sheets will not bend. I use the elevated areas of the sheet metal for the screws because there is no rainwater running along here later. Here you only have to remember to use longer screws. These are 10 centimeters long. The 1 meter wide sheets overlap so that no water can penetrate. Especially in this area, it helps to pre-drill the holes. I work my way sheet by sheet like this until all are screwed tight. Next, I continue with the fence panels. These are placed between the posts at the back. These are inexpensive, simple wood weave fences. Here you can choose to use thicker and more stable fencing if you want. When the firewood is stacked later on, you will not see much of the back wall from this side. Here it makes sense to work in twos. The panels are held at the correct height and then screwed in one side with the help of the previously installed brackets. Hold them level with the spirit level and then screw the other side in. The back wall is finished and now we continue with the sides. Here the firewood will be stacked against later, so I cannot just use wood weave fences on its own. With the help of brackets, I put 6 by 4 cm roof battens horizontally between the posts. On top of that, I put 2 by 4 cm vertical battens 26 cm apart from each other. Finally, I cover the battens from the outside with one of these fence panels. These grids are also attached to the middle post to divide the wood storage into several compartments. In order to dry the wood well from underneath, I place a wooden pellet on the top of the gravel. Then I start to stack my firewood. I make sure that the firewood does not touch the back wall of the fence. In this first compartment on the left, I pack the pre-dried wood that I have laying around. In the second compartment, I put fresh wood. If wood is needed for my wood stove, I take it first from the compartment on the left. If it's empty, I continue with the one next to it, and the first compartment can already be used for stacking new firewood. As a result, the wood is automatically sorted according to the degree of dryness. I have 4 compartments in total, and it was a good thing that a few trees had to be cut down on my property. You can find a detailed video about that on my channel. For splitting wood, I like to use my new splitting hammer. You can work well with it because the splitting hammer is wider and does not get stuck. It is heavier than a normal axe, which I personally like, but that's a matter of taste. You can find a link for all the used tools in the description section.
Ja.
I have already sorted some wood, but I want to make a change on the edge of the roof. I have here a couple 75 by 75 millimeter metal roofing trim, and I will mount it now. The thin and somewhat sharp edge of the trapezoidal sheets will be covered nicely. Small unevennesses can also be covered well. I align the corner trim evenly and I pre-drill the holes. The trim is 0.7 millimeter thick and seems very stable. I start with the front side. If the corner trim overlaps a little bit, then you won't have a gap. Next, I will attach the 2 side trims. To do that, the slightly protruding roof battens have to be shortened at the sides. The suppliers usually offer to make these trims exactly to measure, so you don't have to cut anything. On the back side, I do not attach any trim. I like the corner trim very much because I think the roof looks solid and complete now. Now the work on the wood storage is finished. All in all, I'm satisfied with the result. The separate compartments are practical because the sections keep the wood sorted from year to year. Each section has a volume of about 7 cubic meters of firewood, so when the storage is completely full, you have about 28 cubic meters of wood. I estimate my consumption with a small stove at about 1 full compartment per year. In the remaining 3 compartments, the wood can pre-dry at the same time for the coming years. The stability of the shed is, in my opinion, fully sufficient for the purpose. In retrospect, I would take somewhat thicker battens as support for the trapezoidal sheets. If it wouldn't stand so protected from the wind between 2 houses, I would use diagonal bracing. I also noticed that the stacked firewood is pressing quite hard on the partition walls, so I had underestimated the load a bit. Here I simply put thicker battens in and that solved the problem quickly. If you want, you can also pave the gravel surface, but I have not seen any need for that so far. Thank you very much for building the firewood storage shed with me. I enjoyed the construction and I hope you enjoyed my video. I wish you good luck for your projects. Until next time, I'm Carl the Landscape Guy.